Hey everybody, welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host Caleb.
I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man.
Yeah, we're jumping right in today. Normally we do the little countdown, but we had some technical difficulties behind the scenes. So, what have we been up to this week besides Star Wars? Because we like to do a little bit of what have we been doing that's not Star Wars related.
Okay.
Oh, you good?
Yep. I'm great.
Oh, okay.
So here's the deal.
Mm-hmm.
I got my copy of, Divinity Original Sin.
One.
Not two. Two is for later, once I beat the first one.
Even though
they have no connection to each other.
Other than being in the same universe.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's minor connections here and there. All you need to know is everything is Brachus Rex's fault.
Sure, whoever the fuck that is.
Oh, that tells me how far you've gotten in the game.
Not very far. I've had to do some trial and error. Learning. I missed a key piece of information at the start. Which is when... Because I did a bunch of side quests. As usual, starting town, get a bunch of them to go and take care of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an idiot in that I didn't read that it was like, by the way, the undead to the west of town are weaker, so maybe you should go there first.
Did you go try to deal with the orcs first?
Or
did you go north?
I went north.
North.
East. I went fucking...
North is definitely...
directly west on the beach.
So north is definitely the last place you should go.
Mm-hmm.
That is the hardest.
Yeah.
There's actually a level guide for at what level is it about appropriate for to go in which section of Syceal. So I should probably send you that.
Mm-hmm. So I got my ass kicked for about...
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of death.
Eventually I got into the habit of saving after every fight, which is something that I should probably have done beforehand.
I'm pretty sure that lesson should have sunk in when I was hanging out with you last week when you played it.
Yeah. Probably.
But that lesson did not,
it
huh?
Didn't.
No, can I tell them about what happened last week?
Yeah, you know what? Go on and tell them.
So, last week, I go after the podcast, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go hang out with Seth and them because it's been a minute. So I come over and you're playing the game. And sure enough, you get to yeah, so the premise, the initial inciting incident is that you are investigating a murder, right? That's the initial story.
The murder of Counselor Jake.
Yeah. And so one of the suspects is his wife, Esmeralda.
Oh.
So you decide, oh, I'm going to go check her, the back room, in her shop/house. Because you've already been upstairs into her house, but then you're like, oh, there's a back room here behind the bar, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, I'm going to go check that out. Start a fight. Because you didn't sneak in. You just were like, I'll open it. It'll be fine.
Yep.
Obviously not breaking and entering at all. But yeah, no, they were not fine with that. And so you get her bodyguard/boyfriend, sort of.
Just her bodyguard.
Although I'm pretty sure
they
are
also definitely banging.
And then you're like, oh, I can deal with these, and then eventually the whole town just slowly starts coming in, every guard. and then you TPK, and shit you not, audience. He lost maybe 3 hours of gameplay. Yeah. Because he goes all the way back to when you first enter Syceal, which is probably about after the tutorial dungeon, an hour after you've started the game. If you skip the tutorial dungeon, it's within the first 10 to 20 minutes of playing the game. Mm-hmm. So you pretty much restarted the game.
Yeah. Oh.
So that lesson should have sunk in then, because I was like, hey, you need to always be saving. It's an RPG. You got to remember your abs. He did not remember his abs.
No. The other thing that I do not actually like is they don't give me like a vague objective marker for places to go.
They do. It's in the
It's
map.
in the
It's in the map.
quest log.
It's in the map.
Yeah, but
'Cause
they
they
don't
put the gold-
actually give you shit.
put-
Oh wait, it's gold.
Yeah, that's right. He's playing in grayscale because his TV
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Yeah, which means important things that would ordinarily be marked on the map in color.
You don't recognize that
I don't
they're being...
recognize that they're on the map.
Yeah, I'll show you. Divinity Original Sin map. Well, there's the by zone, by the way. So, that's on Steam. Somebody put a zones by level for you. So, level 1, obviously, where you start. Level 2 is most of Sysil, which generally you're not going to find fights there unless you start them. Level 3 to 4, you want to go to the northwest end of town, which is where the undead is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got, like, the kind of slightly more center north after that. Then you want the orcs.
I have got to level 5.
Okay. So you should be able to go to, like, the regular north, but not the north part where there's fire. Don't go there.
Mm-hmm. So...
And definitely don't go east yet.
Yeah. Here's another fun thing that happened that caused me to lose progress. So, you with the pet talent, right?
Mm-hmm. The pet pal.
I got that. So
Hey,
I can talk to animals
you can
now.
talk to Murphy now.
I talk to Murphy.
He's very useful.
He is.
Especially if you have the smelly panties that you found at Esmeralda's.
Yeah. Which told me the thing that I already kind of figured out.
He's like, oh no, that's not.
Yeah, like, I said it in the worst possible way while you were there. I'm like, well, obviously it's not her. She was busy at that time.
But also that clears her officially, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can now be like, oh, I can take her
Off
off
the
the
list.
Yeah.
So I was like, alright, so the other option...
Slight spoilers for a 10-year-old game
Yeah.
at this point. 11 years old, actually, because it was 2013, I want to say, for Original Sin 1.
So with her off the list, I'm like, okay, well, there's 3 other people. There's, Captain Arias. He is a suspect. He was already on my suspect list, mostly because he was just whining about shit.
Oh, yeah.
About how he's like, I'm the one in charge.
Hold on, I'm trying to pull up a clip of when I have the map open. So, you see how I have the map open in the gameplay here? That the little diamond ones are your objective.
Okay.
But also, there's white diamonds that also tell you where things are. So, yeah, you can't see the goal. I think if you highlight them, it will say, though, because you can highlight. But with your circle reticule. So, I would double check that. If hopefully that resolves that issue while you're in grayscale. But unfortunately, currently you're not going to be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. So this is...
So this is not a fault of the game. The game does
It's
have
not-
that.
Okay.
Anyways.
I just can't see it because it's in fucking grayscale.
Anyways, you were saying, though.
I was like, well, Captain Arias is a suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Evelyn is a suspect.
I want to be careful, actually. I don't want to...
Well, I already figured out that she is responsible.
Oh, you've already... Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's not a suspect now. She is the culprit.
She is the culprit. And...
I was like, I can pull that up because I'm like, I think that is her. Because in my brain, I was like, I think that's her. But I didn't want you to see that if you hadn't solved it yet.
Read it.
Oh, okay.
And Mayor Cecil was also a suspect, where I was like, it's probably not him.
So you've got to the point where Evelyn's no longer in town. She's booked it.
She's booked it.
And now you got to get to her secret little hideout cave.
Yeah. And the way that I was... But before I figured all that out, I was like, you know what? Before I, talk to Murphy... Because the game doesn't tell you what kind of, clothes you need to bring back. It's just like, oh, bring back something smelly, right?
Thankfully, the description of the panties are smelly.
Yeah.
Like, it's in the name.
But I already knew that. That's not why I was...
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so clearly I need to go and get them from other people, right? That have, like, their scent on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go and I'm like, well, I need to get something from Captain Arias. He probably won't like it when I steal from him.
He already doesn't like you.
Yeah. So I'm like, alright. Well, at this point in time, I have not hard confirmed that Evelyn is the suspect.
Yeah, like you've just met her and...
I've met her and I'm like, okay, I'm like, I guess, Boris is the younger guy. I'm like, fuck it, let Boris live.
Now, have you gone to the whole... Did you go through the whole mortician part of the investigation?
Oh, you mean where it broke into his house and read all of his books?
And you find out that he buried a sheep in the place of Jake, which means Jake's body is not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave that woman the money for the sheep.
Yeah, that's what I think I got the mortician to pay for it.
Oh no, I had him arrested.
Oh, I got Roberts to pay for it. I was like, hey, you should pay for this at the very least. Like, look, I get it. You were in a very awkward situation here. Because, like, some high-level people were telling you to do this. So, like, it's not entirely your fault. But at the very least, you need to pay for what you did.
I think the problem that hard confirmed for me that, like, Captain Arias was...
Arias, yeah.
Arias was, like, the guy. Which is why I went and fucking killed him.
You killed Arias?
Yes! I was level 3, Arias over here, level 5, he summoned 2 of his guys. I was like, I'm pretty sure that between me, Medora, Roderick, the other companion...
Yeah, you found yeah.
No, Roderick is the default name.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, because you have Bear Daughter, right?
And Bear Daughter.
Yeah.
I'm like, between the 4
There's still
of us,
2 more you haven't recruited, I think.
I've seen the other 2. One's
yeah.
in, like, the bottom of a well, and the other's in the library.
Jahan and, Wolgriff.
Yeah. And I'm like, I guess I'll just kill him.
I'm pretty sure he's actually not involved at all.
He's not. But the reason I thought he was is because I thought he paid the mortician gold to let him know if any more fuckery came on.
Mm-hmm.
But because those sentences are right next to each other in the dialogue. So I was like, that's a little weird. A little suspect.
I mean...
Because
I can see where the logic comes from.
Yeah.
Because, like, Orius comes off as this, like, I'm so harsh on you because I don't want you to find anything out.
He's like, talking with a mortician, he's like, oh, only come to me if someone starts asking questions. And I'm like, that's the shadiest shit I've ever heard.
That's like any, like, Beverly Hills Cop or, like, those type of movies where it's like, obviously there's some corrupt cop going on.
It's like me when I'm watching a movie and they're like, oh, I'm from the vice department of the police. I'm like, oh, you mean that department we don't...
The department that in every piece of media is corrupt.
Yeah.
And they always take some of the drugs and start using them or selling them.
I'm like, it's that, should I just take you out now?
Whereas,
but no, it turns
whereas
out...
Arhu's just a furry.
Yeah. That's literally it. I think he's got...
And you might be gods? Or at least you're connected to the gods in some way, because, like, every time you go back to the end of time shit, that you're like, I don't care about this.
Fuck.
Even though that's where the real plot is. They're like, hey, the void's eating the end of time. That you see that giant cloud dragon? That's actually a thing called the void that wants to eat all of time. And it's starting with the end and going backwards. And eventually it's just going to eat all of time. And you're like, yeah, what does that have to do with me?
You didn't know, I have other shit to do.
Well, in case you didn't know, it's because you exist in time. And obviously if time ends, then you can't do your thing.
Yeah, but you're framing it. You already said it has an end point. We know that it's linear now.
Yes. Which is why it's more concerning that the void is eating all of time. Because if there's an endpoint and it's already at the endpoint and it's moving toward backwards, it's gonna hit you.
It's fine. I'll deal with it. But first I need to go catch this Evelyn lady. I'm pretty sure she's causing problems.
You're not wrong.
I assume if she is defeated, not killed, mind you, because she might be useful later. Also, Counselor Jake, what the fuck were you doing with all this obviously bullshit stuff?
Obviously culty things.
Yeah. Also, there's this, like, the one way in the conduit. I met that guy in the bar, and I was like, what the fuck is this guy?
Oh, you learned about the conduit. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, that sounds bad.
Oh, there's gonna be more about it. Yeah.
Like, I don't trust that shit.
No, that's very culty.
Yeah. There's the fucking, what are they called? Fabulous Five?
Oh, yeah, the MLM.
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah,
I know I don't need to kill you.
The Fabulous Five. Hey, you should become an adventurer under our company. And then if you hire adventurers beneath you, they can hire more adventurers beneath you. And you can just share in the profit of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm already doing...
You mean a pyramid scheme? No, an MLM! But what's the shape of it?
No thanks, I'm good. Immediately.
We need to watch the episode of Always Sunny where they join an MLM.
Mm. And they're like, I was like, so I'm going to everyone in town and just asking them random things like, do this, do that. Admittedly, so far, one of the most, like, non-combat ones that's ever been fun for me is the, like, reading the joke book.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, these are actually really good. I think my favorite one is the one with the like, elven priests.
Yeah. Have you met Nick yet?
Nick?
Yeah.
Is he a head?
Yeah.
He's in my inventory at the moment.
Oh, okay, so you gotta find his body still.
Yeah.
So you stole him from over at the carnival? The little town carnival.
Liberated. I think is a nicer word.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not stealing if the man himself asks you to take him.
The contest between Cedric and the other guy.
Yeah.
I was like,
oh, where you can compete the two the two plays and shows. Yeah.
I was like, hey, he uses a crowd warmer. Do you want? I'm like, he's like, go hire him for me. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I got the money for it.
There's just so much to do in that game. It has a really good plot, but it's also so unserious at the same time. And you're like, I will say that is kind of the juxtaposition of Divinity Original Sin 1, is that it takes itself so unseriously that you're kind of thrown when it's like, oh wait, no, this is a serious moment. I do think it kind of sometimes struggles with the tone.
Yeah.
Because, like, anytime you're at the end of time doing the Void stuff, it's like, oh, this is serious, but the rest of the game has been so unserious that I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to take this seriously now, though.
Also, I will say this. I don't know who has died more frequently in the party, me or Medora.
Yeah, Medora dies a lot in my gameplay, too.
And that's not because...
her and Jahan, but Jahan's also a wizard, so it's
expected.
Yeah, he's like a mage.
I'll be trying to keep my party members alive. Damn.
You would actually probably like Jahan. He's like a mage that's like super anti-demon and stuff. I don't know if you've talked to him.
He's in the library hanging out with Viconia. I'm like...
Victoria.
Oh.
The orc's name is Victoria.
I've been misreading her name the entire time then.
Yeah, that's the adoptive daughter of the mayor.
Oh yeah, that guy who wanted to kill her went up to his hotel room, murdered him, and left.
Same.
I know there's another way you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. There's another way to do it, but yeah. Bro, no. Sorry. No chance here. Your racism is showing, and so we got to get rid of
For me,
it.
it's purely because I didn't understand that there was another option.
Nah. I think I tried, and I just couldn't pass, like, the checks for it, and so I was like, okay.
Also, it's very bold of Divinity to make the, like, dialogue thing rock, paper, scissors.
I still hate it so much.
I don't hate it. I actually really like it.
It just...
But that's just because I'm good at guessing with rock, paper, scissors.
And as long as you win enough of it, and you have high enough points in that, like, whatever you're using, then when you win, you get the points for it. And you get way more, like... You get so many points that versus, like, if somebody else won, and they just get 2 dots out of the... What, it's supposed to be, like, 9 or whatever?
Yeah.
And so, like, if you... As long as you have good stats in the thing, then it's not as bad if you mess up. But it's still so frustrating.
I think I have, like, at the moment, 4 in Charm.
Oh, okay, and so you generally try to do charm stuff whenever you... Yeah.
But I have, for Roderick, the way that I'm playing it is... I'll use Charm, whereas Roderick will use Reason. Which creates a nice dichotomy where I will choose, like, the nice options, where Roderick is like, that's stupid. We shouldn't do that. And he'll win sometimes, like, the orc lady that's been charmed.
Mm-hmm.
He won that one both times. And I'm like, you know what? Probably a good point. We don't know when that charm potion's gonna wear off, and she might be, I don't know, violently upset.
Oh, talking about the orc that's got the charm spell? Yeah.
I'm like, that...
So how'd you deal with that?
Well, Roderick, the...
Because there are 2 different outcomes depending on the choice you do.
I think both times we got into a rock, paper, scissors one.
Mm-hmm.
Roderick won both of those.
Was it to kill?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, I can share this since you've played it now.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you kill her, then those 2 guys live. If you let her live, that charm spell does in fact no longer work, and the next time you go back, they are, like, one of them is dead. Because she kills...
Yeah.
Actually, they might both be dead. I can't remember if it's one or both. But yeah. So...
Yeah.
Your choices matter in this game.
And then that springs up a conversation with Medora.
About
that,
like, nature versus nurture, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes the Victoria thing interesting, because she actually kind of proves that nurture is a thing in Divinity, and it's not entirely nature for, like... The nature is sort of that, but it turns out, no, that's not true. If you nurture them, then they can grow up to be just non-violent people who have their own interests.
Yeah.
Like any other person. And so Victoria kind of disproves that theory by just existing.
Yeah, and I'm like, Medora's been in the library with me when I've talked to Victoria multiple times.
Yeah. I really like that dynamic, though, of the story about the orcs in Divinity. I'm like, oh, so they're, like, on one hand, you have this idea that maybe it is just nature. Maybe it is just them that does this. Because you have that traditionally, that is going to be the initial story that you do before you meet Victoria. You would do that before meeting Victoria if you were to just do things in the order in which you see them.
Except I'm doing things in this screwball way where...
They're kind of just going all over town.
Yeah.
Which they're... The freedom of gameplay, I think Larian has that in mind still.
Thank God I haven't ran into any bears in this game.
I don't think there's a lot of bears in this.
If there are,
although I haven't hit Act 2 yet, where you go into the... I've never gone past Act 1, so we're going to find out soon, because I am finally hitting a point where I'm about to enter Act 2, where you go into the forest that's further north.
Yeah, watch out for the fucking wolves there. They are not to be fucked with.
Oh, and the Lucille Forest?
Mm-hmm.
Past the fire?
Mm-hmm.
You ran past the fire?
I ran past a lot of things.
Yeah. Those fire enemies are so deadly, even at proper level.
I used a lot of rain scrolls and drank a lot of water.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say they are annoying even in a good day.
Yeah.
I guess with water
Did you know
balloons
you
and rain
save-
spells and.
Did you know you can save action points by not doing anything?
Yep,
I didn't know that.
I do it for Wolgriff all the time because he's my rogue, and so I have you can have him teleport in one of his abilities,
Oh, that's good. to
and
know.
so because one of his abilities is like you can jump to like within a certain radius, you can have him just appear there, and so if you save up your points, then you can do stuff afterwards. Once you've made that jump, you're like, oh, I can now stab you.
Yeah, I didn't know that the battering ram skill also serves as like a short range teleport if an enemy is far enough away.
Yeah.
That was nice to learn.
And then Medora has the like slam fist, which I
She's
like
got
to.
the slam fist and whirlwind.
Yeah, which I like the slam fist because it and battering ram can be used as like you stun your opponents for.
Yeah. I wish I would quit getting frozen so goddamn much.
That does happen a lot.
It's very aggravating.
But yeah, it's such a good game. There's so much you could talk about with that game. We could go on for that. That could be a whole episode on its own if this wasn't a Star Wars podcast.
So the last thing for Divinity
yeah.
is, and once again, this is another Medora thing. I like Bear Daughter. She's all right.
I figured Bear Daughter would be up your alley of a character. I like the whole like her name is literally like her existence. Like
Yeah.
she was raised by bears, and so
Ergo,
she's just
I am a daughter of bears.
yeah. So I am Bear
It's
Daughter.
you are exactly what you are. There's no fuckery going on.
Yeah. So
You don't have a stupid elven name with way too many E's and L's in it.
and I haven't done too much of her actual like because there are companion stories if you get to know them, but I haven't delved too much into that yet.
Yeah,
But-
I haven't got very. I know she's looking for a guy named Jareth, who's at Attenborough.
Yeah. I think most of that is like once you hit Act 2.
Yeah, I don't know where the fuck that is, but I guess we'll keep an eye out for him.
Yeah.
But the other thing, so I didn't go to the far end of the beach where that strange cave is, but that's on my map. I'm like, I'm gonna go just explore a little bit. And I go and I come across this crying orc, and he's like, "Oh no, my brother's dead." I'm like, "All right." What do you? And I go and I ask him, of course. I do the RPG thing of tell me all your dialogue.
Yeah.
And so Roderick and I get into another argument,
About whether or not to kill him or defile the court, like the
which is basically like, "Oh, are we gonna disrespect like
their traditions.
their traditions? Like, are we gonna go and dig up this armor or no?" I'm like, "No, we're not." And Roderick's like, "But the armor could be useful." And I'm like, "Not this time."
Because then we'll get into a fight with this guy, and do we want to do that?
No, I didn't know that guy was as strong as he was because I didn't bother examining him beforehand.
Yeah.
And so we have that argument, and eventually I win that one. And so it's like, all right, we're not going to do that. And so eventually I go and I'm like reading up, find a book about like customs and stuff. And it's in regards to the orcs, and they're like, by the way, if you're crying at someone's funeral, they will immediately kill you. I'm like, oh.
It's a good thing he's the only survivor of this
Yeah.
battle.
Whew, that's pretty intense. Damn.
But also, once again, that continues the conversation of these orcs, while they're presented as just monsters at first, you slowly learn, no, these are real people who have, like, customs and traditions, and, like, if you treat them like people, then maybe things would be different, but... Yeah, I mean...
I tend to operate with enemies in games and fiction, like even the wild animals. I'm like, unless you directly attack me, we're chill.
Yeah.
Once you do that, I don't care anymore.
Because, like, you can absolutely just be like, screw you, I hate orcs, and just start defiling those corpses, and then the consequences of your actions.
Yeah.
But also, like, why?
Yeah, I'm like, he's crying, he's not
He's not attacking me.
Admit,
He actually talked to me. That's
Yeah.
like that.
that's an improvement over the last group who tried to kill me on sight.
And are working with those necromancers and everybody. Yeah. So
It's also the like we're good unless you attack me is the same reason why like back when playing my first playthrough of Red Dead Redemption, and the subsequent one after that, I never bothered hunting any of the animals unless it was story related.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm like, they're out there existing.
But yeah, such a good game.
Yeah. What about you, man? What have you been up to? Now that I've spoken for
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
What was it? I had it on the top of my... Oh, so obviously we'll talk about this in a second, but I've been playing a game. But we'll talk about that when...
You've been playing a game.
I've been playing a couple games. But we'll save one of those for the news segment, because it pertains to that. What else was I playing? There was another game I've been playing recently. There's... I played a like, and I posted the video. It was like this RPG that's coming out from what's the name of their cat? It's
I think it's one of the
it's the Pathfinder guys. Rue Valley is the name of the game, but they're only it's the ones who do the Pathfinder video games, like Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous.
You're like, I remember.
This is Seth coded, and so they released a playtest because it's still in alpha. It's like pre-alpha, and they basically made it to where it's open to anybody if you have a Steam account and you just request it. I got it immediately. They were just like, and I was like, oh, I guess it's completely open. It's not just like, oh, you got to wait for approval sort of deal like a lot of those type of things are. But it's very much similar to Disco Elysium in style. And what's interesting about Rue Valley is that, so some of the little bit of, I guess, spoilers, but it's only an hour and something of gameplay that they give you. Time loops are part of this game. And the way that your stat system works is you put your points into it, but it's like your basically your emotions and stuff, and like how you can react to certain situations is what you're putting points into. But it's always the most negative like versions of those. Is how like a lot of that conversations go when in practice, and so you start to see that, and you're like, oh, interesting. That like there can still be positive interactions, but it's like mostly like because you're playing a character who is definitely dealing with depression. That's definitely a heavy theme of the game. Is like depression and dealing with that, and because the premise is you're a character who goes to this place called Rue Valley because you're court mandated to do like therapy. They don't explain what happened yet. I assume in the full game you'll learn. Is it
going to be like a night in the woods? You fucking...
I don't think you killed anybody or anything like that, but
Well, you don't kill anyone.
But you know what I mean.
In the woods from like the reason why you freak out.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, right?
Okay,
I don't think
so it's in that line of veins of like Night in the Woods, Amori.
But yeah, it's very Disco Elysium with like the art style, especially. It's very like modern comic looking, if you know what I mean. Like like that, like almost not quite pixelated, but like almost like it's that dotted art style. Like I can show you a picture from it. But the reason I tried it out is I saw a video talking about it, and I was like, "Oh, this is from that studio. I like their stuff." And so, like, because I like
oh yeah, I see. What
yeah, like it's very modern comic / Disco Elysium style art, and I really like it. I like that. I need to play Disco Elysium. It's on my list still.
It's the one game that entire company made before they splintered off into a bunch of different smaller ones.
Yeah, a lot of other smaller RPG studios, because I think one of the heads is already working on a game, but like maybe or maybe it got canceled or something. I can't remember.
Something like that.
But yeah, so very as y'all know, I'm a big CRPG fan. Like, we were just talking 30 minutes of Divinity. I think it's obvious.
Yeah. I guess on that subject, or a slightly different one, which game, in your opinion, has had the most, like, enjoyable companions for you to travel with?
In like a RPG/CRPG sort of,
Yes.
yeah. I like Dragon Age Origins companions, but I'm also replaying that, so I'm being reminded of how much I love them. I'm like, oh yeah, it's been a minute. I like Alistair, although I have problems with Sten, but he's a good guy. You just got to dig deep to get there, because a lot of the time Sten is like, why are we doing this side quest? Shouldn't we be killing the archdemon? I'm like, we gotta do the side quest so we can have an army to then kill the archdemon. We need the army. If we want the army, we gotta help the people that we're trying to recruit. And Sten's like, why are we helping them? We gotta do the minor goal to get the major goal.
No, I mean, why are we here in these woods right now?
But Sten is very much a linear thinking. He's very much like, we got to get to point B in the most direct path possible. And it's like, he's very he's very objective heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Once he has an objective, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it can be frustrating when as an RPG player, you're like, I'm trying to do the things to get to that point, but I have to do all the side things if we're going to get there. But I also like Alistair because he's a bit sarcastic. I tend to like a lot of the BioWare companions because of, like, at the very least, the first companion you get in a BioWare game always fits that mold of being this sort of silly, sarcastic character that you can have fun with and maybe tease a little bit. Very friendly teasing, poking at, right? Because, like, you've got Alistair, you've got Karth in Knights of the Republic, you've got, I hate to say it, but Atten Rand kind of fits that mold too in Knights of the Republic 2, although that's an Obsidian game, but... So maybe he doesn't count. We don't have to count Atten. I don't want to make jokes with that guy. If I could, I'd leave him in that cell. And then you've got Caden in Mass Effect. You know, very similar vibes, right? Although Karth and Caden are voiced by the same actor, so maybe that's also part of it. But I mean, I've shown you the first line when you meet Alistair, like,
Yeah.
like, obviously, like, he's, like, he can be serious when he needs to be, and Karth is obviously the same way. Karth is actually very serious comparatively. Karth is very, like, doesn't want to tell you things until you've, like, really, really gotten to know him. For good reasons. He's got his reasons for not trusting people. He might have reasons. But, I mean, I like the BioWare stuff. I mean, Baldur's Gate's a little bit different, I guess. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Like, Baldur's Gate 1, you don't really start with that type of character as your first companion. Imoen, I don't think, fits that same mold. Imoen's more of the naive, like, adventure, someone who wants to go on an adventure as well, which I think is your character also. And so having another character like that can either be grating, I'm looking at you, Britt, you didn't like her because of that, or not so bad. I figure you see her in the not as bad category.
I don't mind Imoen. I'm like, oh, this is my fucking idiot sister.
And then I liked, I'm enjoying Dragon Age the Velguard's companions, although they're a little bit more like, we get along a lot more, which is something a lot of people are complaining about, where they're like, I want, like, Dragon Age 2.
I want my companions to bitch at me ceaselessly.
Or at each other, really.
Yeah.
They, like, Dragon Age 2 is the thing that people are looking back on, where they're like, oh, these characters hated each other. It's like, they don't have to, though, to be a good companion. Like, you can still get really good stories out of that. And I think Lucanus is an example where I'm at in the game. That poor man. He's going through it.
He's got his problems.
But and I like companions in a lot of RPGs. I can't say I have, like, a favorite where I'm like, if I could, I would pick, like, maybe different people from each games that I've played.
Okay, so the problem is you like a bunch of them, but they're all from different games.
Yeah.
What I meant, so you can't really pick one that you think has your favorite companions like to travel with.
I mean, I guess I would say DAO right now, but if you ask me on a different day, it could be a different game. So right now, Dragon Age Origins, but DAO, yeah, Dragon Age Origins.
I was like, I don't think...
Dragon Age Origins, but
Yeah.
but like if you ask me a different day, it could be Knights of the Republic, right? Like
Okay.
it depends on the day, really. But right now, with Dragon Age Origins being on the front of my mind, it's probably going to be that. Just because I do like that companions, and while they bicker, and that kind of goes against my argument about Velgard, they don't bicker. Like the reason they bicker is not because they hate each other, although some of them might dislike each other, but it's also because you got to remember Dragon Age Origins companions, as well as your character, are all young adults. Except for, like, a couple. Like, Wynn. Wynn's in her 40s. Although, for some reason, she looks like she's in her 60s. Whereas Morgan now, who's in her 40s now in Dragon Age the Velgard, looks like an actual, like, 40-year-old and not a 60-year-old. Like, she doesn't have gray hair. Well, she has some gray hair, but, like, you know what I mean? She's not all gray. And, like, Wynn is all gray, and it's like... Why'd y'all do Wynn dirty like that?
Sometimes life be stressful, man.
Especially when you're a circle mage. Yeah. But I mean most of your companions in Dragon Age Origins though are like in their like 18 to like 24, 25 at the most. Like Morgan, young in this game, like she's 19 maybe at most. Alistair kind of in that same age range. Zevran, while he's an elf, in that same age range, more or less. I'd say maybe Ogren might be a little bit older. He's the dwarf companion you can get. He might be a little bit older. He might be in his 30s to 40s, but like... And he's hard-headed for different reasons. And then Sten it's like a different culture thing, because he's a Kunari, and you gotta, like, that's why you butt heads with him a bit, is because he's more, like, he's very much following the Kun, which is like their rules and laws and stuff. And so like once you get to know him though, then you're like, oh, okay, so this is about a culture difference, and you know, which makes it very interesting of like, do you accept the culture difference, or are you an asshole about these culture differences? And that comes down to you as the player. And like and Dragon Age Origins is like, I mean, I guess technically Baldur's Gate 1 is the start of the idea that companions can leave you for good. Like, if they disagree with you completely, party companions can be like, fuck you, I'm out, in Baldur's Gate 1. Which is, like, an early example of BioWare doing that. Whereas Dragon Age Origins is the more, like, popular idea of that, where, like, characters will be like, hey, I fundamentally disagree with you, I'm leaving. And then, depending on how that conversation goes, you can fight them and be like, no, you're staying, and I'm going to kick your ass in order to convince you to stay. And some characters will be mad at you for that, but stay. But then others will actually be like, oh shit, I kind of admire that you fought me over that, and now I'm here, and you won. So, depending on the companion, that conversation can go differently. And some companions might just be like, fuck it, you won, but I'm still leaving. So, like, it's... I kind of like the idea of companions who have their own personal autonomy. Although, Dragon Age Origins, you can kind of skew it a little bit, because you can give them a bunch of presents, and then they'll like you. You can kind of spam presents, actually.
Yeah.
Which is something I did in a video recently, actually.
I have an answer to this question.
Okay.
And it is the Outer Worlds.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking it would be along those lines. I was thinking it was going to be either a Fallout game or Outer Worlds.
I don't mind some of the companions from Fallout 4.
I would figure New Vegas.
Or New Vegas. Yeah. But because of how some of the companions are, like, with Boone from Fallout New Vegas, if I need to go to somewhere that is controlled by the Legion, I can't bring him with me because he's on site with any member of the Legion.
That's fair. But that goes back into my conversation of why I I like the idea that they have their own autonomy, and so in that case you are choosing to side with be friends with somebody that's part of a different group.
Oh no, even if you're not friendly with them, like even if you're neutral with him,
Mm-hmm.
if you bring him with you, he'll just open fire immediately.
Oh, he'll actively.
Yeah,
Got it.
so that's why I'm like, I can't bring him there.
See, I misunderstood. I was thinking that they're on site with him, not the other way around.
No, he's on site with them. He has the best reason to be
Yeah.
out of any of the companions.
But yeah, so Outer Worlds, though.
Outer Worlds, I like them because they'll ask you questions. They'll be like, "Are you sure we should be doing this?" And I'm like, "This seems like before big decisions, like with in this instance, I consider it early enough in the game for it not to be a spoiler. Like, Parvati will be like, "Hey, before we yank out this power cord,
I consider that early enough. Like, that's like the first planet you're on, yeah.
Are we sure we want to do this?" I'm like,
Because we're taking away power from these people that are trying to be anti-corp.
yeah.
And, like, Parvati's like, well, I work for them. This seems like an asshole thing to do.
Yeah, I like it when companions are allowed to voice their opinion on subjects. And sometimes I'll even let that persuade me.
Yeah.
Like, I remember bringing, for another decision later in the game, Felix and, like, the Doctor. I was like, it's essentially the last, like, Sublight Underground mission, who are a big crime company, because God forbid I end up anywhere else. And it's like, okay, we just need to go and kill this lady. And Felix, who is hardcore anti-corporation, and I think her name is Eleanor. It's probably wrong.
Anyways, that's, yeah.
I'm like, alright, so should I go ahead and just take her out right now? But first I'm like, I'll ask Felix. And Felix, like, I'm down with anything that fucks a corporation over. And the Sawbones is like, well, I don't want to deal with Sublight Underground being problems for us if we don't. I'm like, okay. Bang!
Yeah.
But I like it when, like, your companions voice their opinions on such.
So you must like also BioWare companions, because a lot of them do that. Like, that is the BioWare thing. Like, whatever companions you're hanging out with are going to voice their opinion.
Yeah.
At least in earlier BioWare games.
I want you to voice your opinion before I make a decision.
Yeah.
Rather than be pissy at me later, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Or at least if you're going to be pissy at me, at least voice your opinion beforehand, and then I go against you, and then you can be mad.
Yeah. Then it's like, that is how that would work.
Yeah.
But
now,
also, I like them. They're more enjoyable. They're not, like, to the point of where they're too friendly or too, like, actively antagonistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good choice. I can respect that. But yeah, that's pretty much been it for what we've been up to, I guess, this week.
My coworkers, people were really nice to me. Like, I met, like, my coworkers yesterday. I saw, like, Tori's grandparents as I was, like, getting off work, and I was like, they're like, hey, do you want to ride home?
Is this part 3 of Seth doesn't interact with people?
In a weird way, yes. I went in, I had a good walk to work, and when I went there, I was like, I talked with my coworkers. I was like, alright, I'm gonna go and find, the manager, store manager, and the assistant manager. And I go in there, and I'm like, I'm here to work. And apparently, this, like, caught them off guard, really. They're like, we've never seen you, like, this angry, or, like, just no jokes or anything. They're like, are you good, man? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine.
I'm just in the zone.
I just came here to work today. And they're like, I think he's depressed.
No, it's just Seth went focus mode.
And they're like, are you good? I'm like, yeah, things are fine. And they're like, and so that happened. And then, like, I get off work, I go and I meet Tori's, like, grandma. Because they were ordering food in the subway in front of me. I was like, alright, cool. They're like, hey, do you want to ride home? And I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna walk. Because it's nice to just walk. I'm like,
it's also cooler now, so it's not as, like, as long as you're dressed appropriately, it's not as bad.
Yeah. And so I get home, and it's like Andrew and Tori and everyone. They're like, "Oh, wow, we're about to leave." Once like it's been like an hour or two because they're gonna go and buy like Christmas stuff and all that. At that point in time, and Andrew's like, "Hey, do you need anything?" And at this point, like I'm in the middle of doing like dishes in the kitchen, and I'm thinking about, I'm like, fuck is with everyone being nice to me today? It's weirding me out a little bit thinking about it.
It's like, no, that's
I was like, no, this is normal behavior.
Yeah.
I'm like, the rational part of me is like, this is normal. This is not anything weird. And the other half of me is like, the fuck is going on? This is wrong.
Do you want to get into some Star Wars news, though?
Yes. Now that
we
I've
have
delayed you for an hour, I
Yeah,
think.
because we've got some news this week. So, starting off, we're going to go with some video game news.
Okay.
Because we have a bit of video game news. Firstly, we have our first DLC and major drops for Star Wars Outlaws.
Okay.
In the free part of this update, we also got some fixes to stealth mechanics and other bugs. And then Outlaws was released onto Steam for PC users as well. So, but we have a trailer for the first DLC Wildcard, which we can watch now.
Okay.
And we can discuss it in a second.
What's going on with the light?
I think I'm kicking a cord.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. It didn't.
Oh no.
For some reason it wasn't. Here we go.
Hey, Vess, I've got a client who wants to make you rich. Governor Thornton.
There's an exclusive Sabacc tournament being held on the casino cruiser Morenia.
I don't work for the Empire.
I could have the entire underworld believing otherwise. All you need to worry about is finding the Morenia. Grand prize is of exceptional value. You're going to win it for me.
Oh, the player list is confidential. Nothing stays secret in a place like this.
So this is the Sabacc legend we've been waiting for?
Oh yeah, we go way back.
Let the game commence!
Yeah, there's some new cheating mechanics.
You saw that, right?
Wait. I wasn't cheating. This is a mistake.
Hyper refuel it takes a mess.
Don't you have your own ship?
You should probably get the weapons ready.
Think you can handle it?
All right, strap in.
So yeah, I'm really so I've already played 2 hours of this.
Oh yeah.
I really like it so far. The fact that I played 2 hours of it and it's not over yet is a good sign. I expect it's not that long of a DLC though. Like I've already got like 2 or 3 of the trophies already assigned for that one, because new trophies came out with it.
Got 100% at this time.
Well, I already 100% at the base game, so yeah, I'm gonna 100%. It looks like the trophies assigned for it are, as long as you play the story, you'll get them. But so they introduced a new location, obviously the Morenia, which I liked. I really like the Morenia, and I also like that you can tell it's new assets and it's not reused assets.
I see.
I like the tournament that you play in, because you play in a little bit of a tournament before things go off the rail. Some new mechanics are introduced into Sabacc for it. One, in the tournament they don't let you use your little boost, the tokens, right? So it's just straight Sabacc. But also they're still cheating. But you have to be careful when you cheat, because there's cam bots watching.
Oh, okay.
And so if they're looking at you, don't want to do anything. That's cheating. But also, what you can do is if the pick up 2 cards cheat that you can do. Mm-hmm. So now you can have Nyx place the second card on somebody so you can call them out for cheating.
God, you can frame people.
But also you can catch other people's cheating if you've picked up hints that tell you like when to identify that they're cheating. Which I picked up like 3 out of the 5 people that you're playing against. And so I managed to get properly 2 of them kicked out of the table when I played. Lando, I didn't pick up his, but I also assumed that it would come down to me and him anyways. Which is exactly what happened. It came down to me and him. I fucked up and I still won, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Yes. Because I got rid of an actual one and put down and picked up the one where you got to roll to see what number it is. And of course I have the magnetic dice, so I'm like, okay, I'll just use the magnetic dice when the time comes. The cam bot was looking at me.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh no, did I fuck up? Did I mess up by getting rid of the actual one that was in my hand? I somehow, by the grace of that game, rolled a 1.
Woohoo.
And so, yeah, I don't want to ruin too much of like the actual plot, but yeah, you're working for Governor Thornton, and he basically wants you to win, so that way you can get the coordinates to a moon that has all these resources. And basically he's like, hey, I've got footage of you as an Imperial, and I'm just gonna say you're an Imperial mole to the whole underworld. Let the whole underworld think you're an Imperial mole if you don't do this. Which I think also, because Kay says that footage has been like faked, even though it's the exact way that she looks at the end of the base game, because when she... So I guess that means she didn't actually break out her mom? Maybe that's somebody that was pretending to be her?
Maybe.
That works for Governor Thornton?
Probably.
So that way they could fake that footage? Is what I think that... I guess that means? Or Kay is just so good at lying that she's even convinced me? But... I'm enjoying it. We can do like an actual proper talk about it once I've completed it. But for now, one, it's so brand new. I don't want to do too many spoiler talk on it.
I will say this. For me personally, I think Kay is in the top 3 of the protagonists.
She's a really good protagonist. I really like her. And we can talk about that in a second, actually, because we got some video game award stuff in the next piece of news. But I just don't want to spoil too much of it since it just came out this week. So, and I'm still playing it anyway, so once I finish playing it, we can have a proper like mini discussion about it in part of our like what we've been up to this week once I've finished it. Plus I'll give you a chance to watch the gameplay footage and get the story gist, because that tends to be how you consume your gaming at the moment for some games.
If I can't buy it, I'm like, alright, just the story thing.
Yeah. But continuing with Outlaws as the theme, Video Game Awards announced their nominees for this year, which I'm actually curious about your take on the whole Elden Ring. So,
It's been going on.
Shadows of the Erd Tree was nominated for Game of the Year.
Okay.
Do you think a DLC should be nominated for Game of the Year?
Oh.
Especially when said game has already won Game of the Year?
On principle or on merit is the distinction for me.
Okay.
On principle, I will say no. If Shadows of the Erd Tree was a separate game,
That's where I am. That's where I am. Because the thing is, people are like, well, it's got enough... The argument for people that have been pro...
It's got enough content in it.
To be a game. But the problem is, it still requires you to have the base game to play it. And you still have to play half of said base game to access it. Or about half.
That's not inaccurate.
To at least get to where you're supposed to be to get there. right? You have to play a good chunk of the base game to get there. So I think in that regards, like if they had sold it like to where you can buy it separately from the base game, that would be a different conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like if they had done like Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, right? Where that was a DLC to Far Cry 3, but you could buy it like separately. And you didn't need the base game to play it, right? Mm-hmm. Now, did they reuse assets from Far Cry 3 to do that? Yes. But did you need Far Cry 3 to play it? No. That's the conversation. And people are like, well, if this was Elden Ring 2, you wouldn't be this upset. Well, yeah, because it's a different game.
Yeah.
I think that's my point on the debate. I would.
You're at the same stance as I am, whereas like on merit, yes, it probably could, but because
like,
of how it's set up, the answer is no.
Like it's a good DLC.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, just do an award for DLC of the year.
Yeah. They won't though.
I know, and that would be the better option, though, right? Because then that would give, a lot more games that came out this year to have a chance to be Game of the Year. But also, you could highlight a bunch of games that were DLCs as good. Like, imagine if they did that by the time when Cyberpunk 2077 dropped Phantom Liberty. Phantom Liberty could have been nominated for Best DLC. Mm-hmm. And it honestly would have deserved it. Because it took a game that people hated and made it, like, one of the best games. Right? I mean...
I think...
And that should be something that we acknowledge in the gaming community, right? When a company does something where they turn a game around completely in a good way.
Yeah. I'll say this, on... even back in the day, like, when it was first coming out.
I don't think it was as bad, like...
No. You let me finish.
Oh, yeah.
The game story, fucking great.
The gameplay
was horrible.
I will give you that. Yes, the gameplay was the problem, and also like it just.
I think that's the problem.
It felt like a game that was also built for like not that generation of consoles. It honestly feels like a game that was built for the next gen, but they were forced to release it in the previous gen. Mm-hmm. And now they've reverse engineered it enough to where it can run on a PS4 fine. But when it came out, no.
Admittedly, it did. I did have some very funny moments where things did kind of glitch out here and there, but it worked out for me. So
yeah, and it's also like that wasn't the norm when you played it versus when it came out. When it came out, that would have been the norm.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, a few cases of...
I think it glitched, it crashed on me twice.
But yeah, so back to Outlaws side of this, back to the Star Wars side of this. Outlaws has been nominated for 3 awards.
Okay.
They've been nominated for Best Performance, recognizing Kay's actress Humberly Gonzalez.
Hell yeah.
Best Action Adventure, and Innovation and Accessibility. Which I think that Innovation and Accessibility one might be in the bag, because there's a lot of... Well, let me look at who they're up against for each category. So for Best Performance, they're up against Luke Roberts for Silent Hill 2. So I guess they pre-recorded those lines then? Because that would be the only way I would think that would be fair, is if they pre-recorded lines. For the Silent Hill 2 remake. Like if they did new recordings.
They did, because that's not the same voice actor as the original.
Okay. Brianna White from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And so those are some of the others that she's up against for Best Performance. Best Action Adventure, it's up against Astrobot, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown.
Well, we might as well take those 2 off, because nobody actually knows what they are.
I don't know. Astrobot's been doing... I mean, Astrobot was kind of popular when it came out this year. I know a lot of people who have enjoyed it. Jeff has it too, and the girl, his daughters have really enjoyed it too, because it's just a fun little platformer. Silent Hill 2, and then Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which that one might be a Zelda. Zelda might win that one, honestly, because one, it's the first time you get to actually play
not.
as Zelda. I would not be surprised if Zelda won. I also wouldn't be surprised if Silent Hill 2 won.
Yeah. Although I'm a little bit I guess you can put Silent Hill 2
It's
in
a remake.
there. It's as a remake.
It's the same argument we've had about whether or not DLC should count, right? It's in that same vein of argument. It's like,
No, I just mean it's in the wrong genre.
well, okay. It's actually,
survival horror.
but it's like adventure. It goes into the adventure part of it, I think, of action adventure.
More action, less adventure.
And then it is.
I guess maybe it's just because I associate the word adventure with a positive tone.
Oh no, it doesn't have to be positive to be an adventure.
Okay.
Last of Us is technically action adventure game. And those are definitely not positive games.
No, they're not.
I mean, they have positive themes, but it's, you know, the story is not initially positive.
No, it's not.
But there are positive themes in it, like the idea of like the things you love being important. Yeah. Anyways, as far as innovations in accessibility, it's up against Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which the Veilguard also has some, but not as many. I'll say
that it's probably lapping those.
Yeah, I haven't had my
mostly
hand
on account of how I could just go into the menu and shut off that rhythm game bullshit.
like I haven't touched Black Ops 6 yet, so I can't judge on that one. But as far as like if I compare Outlaws and Veilguard, I think Outlaws is ahead of Veilguard. Veilguard definitely has a lot of options, but not as many.
I will say the thing that kind of like was mildly aggravating for Outlaws was trying to figure out where to go, like within certain levels.
Yeah, being able to have the. Yeah, I'd say the map for Outlaws is definitely better than say Jedi Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Like I prefer Outlaws in terms of like, oh, how does the map function?
Yeah.
But also Outlaws doesn't have as much verticality. Like there is some, but not as much as Outlaws. Survivor. Survivor definitely, the Jedi games in general definitely rely on verticality to be a feature in their games. Lastly, in gaming news, so not the last of Star Wars news for today, but last of gaming news. Brawlhalla, we have talked about it before.
Mm-hmm.
The platform fighter that last time brought Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader, and Darth Maul to the stage, now bring us more Star Wars fighters. Mandalorian and Grogu, Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Kay and Nix. So kind of keeping with the Outlaws theme. They are now playable fighters.
Oh boy, okay.
So you don't get to play as Grogu or Nix. Grogu comes with Mandalorian and Nix comes with Kay, obviously.
Okay, so those are assist characters.
Yeah. They're like going to be like... Yeah, so you can use Nix. Apparently, Nix can be implemented into like dropping thermal detonators on opponents, for example. So, yeah. Pretty cool concept. Once again, I've never played Brawlhalla. I probably should at least try it. It's like a platform fighter, so so Mario, it's like Smash Brothers or what's the Warner Brothers one?
Oh god,
you know which one I'm talking about?
I think that's DC Universe.
Well, it's
might
not.
not
No,
be.
it's not just
No.
DC.
God.
Multiverses. Yeah.
DC Universe is another game that Chris likes to play.
DC Universe is fun. But yeah, that's a fun MMO. Make your own superhero and... But yeah, Multiverses, because that one was also kind of a platform fighter in the same vein as Smash Bros, where it's... You pick fun characters and you do like a lot of movement type combat and like it's there's some skill to it, but not like the same skill as say like Street Fighter or like an actual like 1v1 sort of fighter game. Like there's a difference between platform fighters and regular fighters.
Yeah.
Like regular fighting games tend to be more grounded and less items.
Yes.
Like platform fighters, their whole thing is having items to improve your abilities during the fight. So yeah. Lastly, though, the last piece of news for this week, brings us to the television side of things with the official announcement of Visions Volume 3 coming out next year. We don't have a specific date next year, but we know next year. My guess would be maybe Star Wars Day, because that tends to be about when Visions tries to air. But it's another 9 episodes. They're going back to doing Japanese-only studios again, like they did with Volume 1. And so immediately, we actually know all the studios we're getting. So we have the return of Kamikaze Douga, the duel episode. Kinema Citrus Co., the Village Bride episode. Production IG, the Ninth Jedi. And Trigger, who did the Twins. And then we got newcomers, which include Anima, David Production, Polygon Pictures, Project Studio Q, and Wit Studio. And so, Star Wars Newsnet gives a little bit more on what they've done outside of doing this, if you're trying to figure out, like, who's done what. Anima recently was part of a Kira Toriyama Sandland. David Productions is best known for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Woo! All right.
Polygon Pictures, the Godzilla anime, like the 3D CG Godzilla films, as well as helped with some. This is not their first time in the Star Wars universe. They've helped with the Clone Wars,
Tron Uprising.
and they helped with Tron Uprising, which is a pretty good show. Honestly, it's got some pretty good Tron lore. A lot of people are actually hoping Tron Uprising will be canon because they are working on another Tron film. And so a lot of fans are hoping that Tron Uprising gets canonized by the next film. Project Studio Q worked on Evangelion 3.0 and plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time.
I don't know if I've seen that, but Evangelion is weird.
Yeah. And then Wit Studio, they've worked on Attack on Titan and the Ancient Magus' Bride. So, interesting list. I'm curious to see what they bring.
Yeah, let's see how this goes.
I mean, you know how I am. I'm all for Star Wars Visions doing, like, I'm all for keep doing Star Wars Visions. It's an interesting project. It's not canon, but it's still interesting because
it's fun.
It's fun, and it allows other studios to kind of give their own twist on things. So it allows, originality is what it's doing. It's allowing originality. That's really all we got in news. So let's get into today's main topic of the High Republic Seeds of Starlight. Spoilers ahead. I love all the characters in this, and I love this audiobook, and I really suggest it to everybody. Now, Todd Habercorn's narration, there are bits where I'm not as enthralled.
Yeah.
But I kind of, like, over time adjusted to it, where I wasn't as annoyed. Like, I'm not a fan of his voice for Tep Tep.
And I'm like, I can see why Caleb found this annoying, but I'm also like, it is hard for a grown man to do the voice of, like, a 6-year-old girl.
Something like that, 6, 7, yeah.
So cut him some slack, okay? Vocal registers, you can tweak them a little bit, but not that much.
But you can see how, like, listening to it, like,
it
can be grating to the ears a little bit. And it's like, this is an audiobook. I don't want that in an audiobook.
We get one of the best names for a new character.
Yeah?
We get Fido Blick.
Oh, yeah, Fido Blick, yeah. So, the premise is, Tep Tep and,
Cam
and Kildo, along with Master,
I keep wanting to call them Macri, but they're not.
But Cam's Master. They go to Eiram to investigate the disappearance of a couple Jedi, as well as some villagers from, like, some people living in Eiram in the city. And so the investigation is a little bit twofold, because there's some theories of what's going on. People think, oh, it might be these pirates called the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
But it could be this, like, creature.
Local legend. I keep wanting to call it a Kikimora. It's not. That's not what it's called.
But I immediately knew what the local like, I knew the twist pretty much immediately. That it was going to be a Drengir. I kind of immediately figured it.
I didn't forget that they were out there. I was just like, I don't care.
But yeah, no, I kind of figured immediately. I was like, oh, this creature's going to be the Drengir, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so, especially because I immediately was like, oh, well, they're really talking about how Starlight crashes in the water and how that's messing with the ecosystem. I'm like, the Drengir got out. The Drengir got out.
Yeah. I was like, this is Seth from the past. They're plants. Why didn't you burn them? But Jedi have to Jedi, and that's not what they're going to do.
Well, I think also the idea was hopefully they could learn something by studying the samples, because from what I think I understood was
learned that they're waterproof.
I think though but from what we understood, the samples were dead too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What do you mean?
because they didn't have any living samples from the sound of it.
Those were living.
Okay.
Those were alive. They brought the Great Progenitor on board. They didn't kill it. They just put it down for nap time.
Hmm.
Which is why it's still alive.
Yeah.
Spoilers for this book, by the way.
That's
the epilogue chapter of it being like, man, what a great nap. Now I can get to work.
Yeah. Well, I think they thought it was dead, though, when they brought it in. I don't think they knew that it was alive. Because remember all the hard work it took to even get it to that point.
Yeah, I remember it.
That was a lot of work to get it to even that point.
How bad.
Like, Keeve had to put in so much effort just to get it to that point. So, of course, they think it's dead. Because also, all the Drengir immediately just collapsed when it happened.
That fucker isn't dead, Keeve. Yeah, it is.
But you understand why they would think that. Like, I see the logic behind why they would think it is.
It's a case of, for me, like, Jedi, the reason why I'm like, it's like, of course it's not dead, but you're not going to finish it off because you are a Jedi, and part of Jedi ethics.
No, Keeve thought she finished it off.
No, she did not.
Yes, she did.
She's not that stupid.
Yes, she did.
She put it down for a nap.
Everyone
knows that's all that it was.
No, that wasn't what they thought. I can pull back up the comics if you'd like.
You know what? Yeah, in this instance, fucking lore man, go get it.
Like, they were pretty sure it was dead. That's why they kept declaring it as dead every time we talked about it. Every time they talked about it, yes, they were like, hey, the progenitor's dead. Every time. Even in this very book, they go, hey, the progenitor was dead. Even in this book!
Meanwhile, I've been over here for fucking however long.
Now, we can admit that, yes, as an audience perspective, we could probably figure out clues that it's not, right? That's different. We're talking... So, in-universe, they were confident it was dead. But out-of-universe, yeah, we can have a discussion about, was it really... But in-universe, they were confident about that because of the obviously, they were like, well, if we kill it, then it's gonna cause the hive mind to collapse, which is what happened.
Mm-hmm. Except for that part where it decided, nah.
Yeah.
Started kidnapping people.
But that's only recent.
Yeah.
So until now, they've had no proof that it was alive.
Mm-hmm.
Because even with the previous books where we've had some Drengir still hanging out, they've been like, hey, the progenitor's dead, so the hive mind's dead, so how are these things still alive? Because that is a discussion they keep having. So this is the first time we're getting confirmation the progenitor is alive. So that, I think that was just a difference of understanding of what they've been saying.
Mm-hmm.
At least in universe. Obviously, once again, out of universe, we can talk about, yeah, there's some clues that we've had. But in a universe, they're like, yeah, we killed it. It's like, well, I guess not.
clearly a Jedi has not played a Resident Evil game, you have to burn them to make sure they don't get up.
But also, they don't know that, like, because once again, that's why they were taking it as samples to study. Because, you know, you can't learn anything about it if you don't study it.
Yeah.
So that's why they were like, hey, let's bring it to Starlight Beacon so we can study it.
Yeah, except they've brought Drinker samples back from when it was alive, and that caused a bunch of problems. But I guess people don't learn.
Well, also, that was when it was alive. Once again, that's the key words, right? Those are the key words. They knew it was alive when they did that the first time. This time, they thought it was dead.
Mm.
And you know what? It didn't wake up until a year later. So, you know, I think it's valid to think that it was dead. It took a year. And drowning.
A year in drowning.
And then they nom the fishies.
Mm-hmm.
Uh...
And the villagers are mad because it's the Jedi's
Yeah, they thought it was
fault.
the Jedi. Yeah, they're like, you know, it's
Or
Starlight
the
Beacon.
Hurricane's fault.
Yeah, they're like,
Or everyone is doing well, this is your fault. And it's like, well, this is your fault. And this is your fault.
it's the Into the Woods. It was your fault.
Yep.
But yeah, and so, yeah, everybody's pointing the blame until finally we find out the Hurricanes are ex-Nihil.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jedi kids are like, okay, well, we got to work with you guys in order to... Also, I like Cam as a character.
Yeah, Cam's not bad.
Is this I'm trying to remember. This is the first time we've met Cam.
I think so, yeah.
I like Cam's as a character, and I like some of the how they implement some of like the disability and all that with like having the larynx and using the cybernetics, which I was like, this is probably the few times Seth would be like okay with this.
Yeah, I'm like, he's got like a torn up throat. It's not his fault.
Burnt.
This is acceptable.
Burnt larynx.
Yeah,
because
I'm
they clarify that like when Starlight and all that went down, they're like, oh yeah, his larynx got burnt.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a reasonable cybernetic.
Yeah. And so, I like Cam as a character.
I'm not gonna be like, fuck you, child. How dare you?
Cam kind of takes the leader role along with Kildo.
Yeah.
I like Cam though. Cam is a very interesting character. I want to see more of. I like the Hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad people, just doing the best they can in this galaxy.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of like them being like, yeah, we want to take back the Nihil name by, you know, so that's why we became the Hurricanes, because we kept the storm theme, but
And we kept the mask too, because
Yeah.
like no one's gonna help a bunch of former Nihil.
but we got rid of the makeup.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the blue paint.
Yep.
Because that was something that Cam or Kildo noticed, one of them. But I liked it a lot, and I liked...
Also, a Jedi gets kidnapped. The Camp's master gets straight up kidnapped, like in the middle of it.
Yeah, well, that's before they meet the Hurricanes officially.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. And the Hurricanes are like, yeah, some of our guys are missing too, and they're like, oh, okay, so this is just affecting everybody.
Yeah.
And it must be the Drin Gear that are doing this. And so...
Which I think Kildo and Tep Tep find out because they're like, we want to go take a closer look at Starlight Beacon and like the wreckage.
It was
And oh shit, the Drinker are there.
Cam also finds it out with the Hurricane. What's her name?
I don't.
The
know.
main one. But yeah, because Cam keeps saving her life. Like 3 times he saves her. Like
They're like, why do you keep doing this?
he's like, because I'm a Jedi. That's what we do. We save people even if we don't like you.
Yeah.
Unless you give us absolutely no choice, we will save you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because he saves her from, like, jumping, because she almost falls. Because he's like, yeah, no, that jump was too wide of a gap for you to make.
Mm-hmm.
And then he saves her from the Drin Gear. Because he's like, oh my god, there's a Drin Gear.
Yeah.
And it's, like, just about to get her. And he's like, phew.
One of the best things, and this happens really early on, is that Cam and his master, they get into talk with, like, I don't know, the mayor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Basically. And Cam's internal thought is, man, are all politicians this fucking whiny?
But yeah, I really like this, and I like the idea of these like Audible originals where they're like short books.
If I had kids, I'd let them listen to this.
Yeah,
like, before bed or like a chapter.
Yeah, because this is like a, and we're gonna do the next one in a couple weeks. We're not doing it next week, but we'll do the next one in a couple weeks, which is the Padawan one.
Admittedly, it does have one of the most like, oh yikes, ow, I wouldn't want anyone to suffer that, of like essentially being wrapped in thorns and controlled by the finger.
Yeah, ow.
I'm like, ow.
But yeah, like, while it took me a few days to listen to this because of just work and life, if I really wanted to, I could have sat down and listened to this in an afternoon.
Yeah.
Like, because it's only 4.5 hours.
Yeah, I basically was like, I'll just throw on Divinity and listen to this.
And so, like, I like the idea of these type of audiobooks coming out more, because I like the idea of, hey, these are just something real quick, keep you in the in the mood for Star Wars. And honestly, if they did more of these, I wouldn't be mad. And, like, they're free for me because I'm paying for Audible. Like, I pay for the subscription. So these are free for me. So these are just, like, because since they're Audible originals, they come with your subscription. And so I'm just like, yeah, keep doing these. I don't mind. I'd recommend it, like I said. I give it a good 8 out of 10. It's not anything, like, to the point of 9 for me. It's not like... Like, it goes above being...
I
no, you're
realized
good.
I was leaning off
Oh, you're
camera.
fine. It'd be different if you were, like, talking over there, but you were just, yeah. Because it's above, like, it's above average, which is what 7 is, really. Like, 7 is like, oh, this is an average story. It's above an average story, but I wouldn't say it does anything be, like, to the point of 9. So that's why I kind of give it an 8.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8.
Because while I have some issues with Todd's performance in it, I think overall he does a really good job of keeping you... I can pay attention to him when he's...
I think for me, it's just because I've, like, rushed it the last 2 days.
Yeah, but, like, I
got, like, 3 hours done one day.
But, like, I can pay attention when Todd, like, with that type of narration. Like, I think the narration is... Because that's an important factor of this, since it is an audiobook. That is a thing to consider when judging it.
Like, the narration isn't bad.
Yeah. And I think that's also always been the strongest part about Star Wars audiobooks in general, is the performances are generally really good, and plus they go above and beyond with, like, adding soundtracks and sound effects, and it's like, you don't gotta do that. It's an audiobook, you don't gotta do that. Literally, if they just read the book and no extra things, it's an audiobook, boom, you've done it.
Meanwhile, in the sound design, they're, like, frothing at the mouth to get something to do.
They're like, all right, we're going to pump in the music, we're going to add some lightsaber sound effects, and some creatures and designs, and it's just like, you don't got to do that, but I appreciate it as a listener. It really puts me into the book. And so, like...
Story-wise, the defense of the town is great because, like, there's this RDC guy that the kids are like, we don't want to ask him for help, he sucks.
Yeah, but there's also, like, the RDC people where they're like, we like you, but we don't want you coming down to do things. We want to keep y'all safe.
Yeah. And it's like, it's our job.
Like, y'all are literally children.
You are children. Let us, adults and other members, do our fucking job.
Like, it's okay to want help. And so... Yeah, I like this. I'm excited to do the next one in a couple weeks. But I think that's it for this week.
Yeah.
We almost went an hour and a half, so yeah.
Yeah, sorry that...
It mostly became just nerding out about everything.
Yeah.
But this is maybe mostly a Star Wars podcast, but it's really the only podcast we have right now. So it's whatever we feel like talking about. And if you don't like that... I don't mean to sound aggressive, but like
respectfully, if you don't like to listen to us, you don't have to.
Yeah,
but thank you anyway.
Yeah, we appreciate those who do stick around. But yeah, speaking of, thank you all for watching today's episode of Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I've been your host, Caleb. Be sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe to us. You can find us at Escape Reality Films on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and TikTok. You can also show your support for us by joining our Patreon, which is at Escape Reality Films. Shout out to Jennifer Brantley.
Woo!
There you can watch our YouTube content before it's publicly available. Also be sure to check out our Discord, which is also linked wherever you're watching so you become a part of our community. We are going to take a break from our usual hangout thing because it's Thanksgiving that day.
Yeah. As that is on a Thursday,
Yeah.
I will actually be out of town.
Yeah. So,
I'm going over to visit my aunt and uncle with my dad.
go see some family. All right. But yeah, because since our normal thing is to do stuff on Thursday, not doing it this week for obvious reasons. In the U.S., we have a holiday.
Yep.
So, and then, but we do still do D&D. In fact, tomorrow we have acquisitions.
Mhm.
So if anybody wants
I believe
to,
on this
then
Friday.
this Friday we
the
got Grim
return of
Hollow.
Grim Hollow.
I think Wednesday we also have Ravenloft. So all three of our campaigns are going on this upcoming week.
Yeah.
Because since Wednesday it's not quite, and everybody kind of agreed to it beforehand because of how I schedule things. So, but hopefully that stays. But with holidays, maybe it changes. But we'll see. December is going to be interesting to try to schedule. That's going to be the more interesting one. For D&D games, that's usually the hey everybody, let's just take a break the whole month is what December ends up usually being. But yeah. You can also find me currently on Twitter at Escape Reality 94 and Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Caleb.Lockwood. I am working on getting a Blue Sky account. I know I plan to. I just haven't sat down and done it. Seth, speaking of D&D.
You won't catch me anywhere.
Yeah, you can't find Seth anywhere. You can't catch him.
I'll find you.
Can't catch him. But we have some friends
Yeah.
who do D&D stuff.
We do. They're on hiatus at the moment, but it's the perfect time to catch up. So you can go on YouTube at the Steam_Dungeon and catch up on Trials of Nebu. I have no idea what happened.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. But yeah, go check them out because, like we said, now's the perfect time if you want to check them out and just kind of see what they're about. They're not doing any new episodes, so you can kind of just steamroll through all of the content and kind of just, get caught up. And then you can be like, well, when they start doing it again, I know what's going on. Once again, though, thank you all for watching. Join us next week where we'll be doing some more comic book pushing because we're going to read 4 volumes of comics this week.
Boy, oh boy.
We're going to read Star Wars Volumes 8 and 9, finish up the 2020 run of Star Wars, as well as Darth Vader Volumes 9 and 10, finishing up the Darth Vader 2020 run. So, I have spoken.
Y'all be safe out there.